Hi, I'm Christopher Caldwell, and this is an interview with Mr. Elijah Manley. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Alrighty, let's just get started here. Um, I wanted to start off with the tragedy that happened in Orlando recently. Considering we're both from Florida, I was wondering what thoughts you can offer on the situation.
It's very tragic, and myself being a member of the LGBT community, it just never stops. The tragedy never stops, and the mourning never stops. But I do offer all the positive energy I can offer to not just the victims and the families, but to the LGBT community as well, and other oppressed groups.
Right. If you don't mind me asking, can you tell me what part of the LGBT community you're in?
Okay, I identify as bisexual.
Right. Uh, do you think how do you react to the other candidates' reaction to such an event with Donald Trump emphasizing his ban on Muslim immigrants and Hillary Clinton cracking down on the gun situation?
Well, first of all, I think that both of them should be ashamed of themselves for politicizing the event exactly after it happened. I think it was a time to give positive energy and comfort to the victims and their families and not make this a political agenda item for both sides of the aisle. I think that Donald Trump, who only has intentions to further his agenda, and Hillary Clinton only has intentions to further her political agenda and her democratic or liberal agenda. I think that both of them have bad ideals for America. Donald Trump with banning the Muslims. You can't blame an entire religion and an entire faith because of the actions of one person. That's for Donald Trump. For Hillary Clinton, you can't you can't blame guns because of an action of one person too. So I think both of the nominees, both of the candidates are terrible.
All right. Do you have any gun policies in your platform, or
I do, and it's very bipartisan, by the way, which someone told me. I do think we should restrict, um, to an extent, access to firearms, access to especially firearms like the one the killer used or that terrorists use. I do think we should restrict, but I do think that we should balance that with not only the constitutional rights of the people in this country, um, but we have to be very careful with how we try to implement that agenda. I do think that we're going to have to do more than just gun control. Gun control is probably not even going to be possible to, take guns from people. But I do think what we will have to do, which is very bipartisan and it has gotten support from both sides of the aisle, is mental health evaluations every 6 months or biannually, to all gun owners or people who intend to get guns or purchase firearms or large amounts of magazines. Um, so the mental health evaluations, and not just mental health evaluations, but increase in background checks.
would that be on the federal level, or would you let the states implement such things, or
I think that the federal government would be best to deal with this.
alrighty? Would you ever consider lifting the ban on automatic weapons?
On automatic weapons,
Yes.
that is a good one. I would probably not at this point in time
Hmm.
because of all the situations and things that is going on, and it's probably for the better right now. However, I do think eventually, if things tend to get straight from this point on, maybe. As of now, absolutely not because of all of the shootings and things that are going on in this country right
All right. Uh, I've been reading up on articles about you, and they seem to portray you as this independent candidate, which usually means without a party, but I'm pretty sure you actually did have a party association. And which party was that with?
now. Well, are you asking about what party I ran in during the campaigns or what party I was registered as before running in the campaigns?
What party did you run as? That's fine.
Well, originally I was an independent, and then I ran in the socialist parties, primary, and then I ran in the Green Party's primary, which I am a Green Party candidate still to this day. And as you know, Jill Stein may have become the presumptive nominee for the Green Party as of now.
Can you tell the people what it means to be a Green Party member?
Well, Greens believe in four simple key values, which are economical justice, and most of these are part of my platform. Ecological wisdom, the environment, social justice, and protecting the next generation. The Green Party is the most progressive political party that is out there. It's further to the left of the Democratic Party. And the Greens are all about putting people before profit. Or in my way, people first and profit, that's what it says.
One of your main pillars of your campaign is youth rights. Uh, can you give us example of youth rights that you want to expand?
Well, there are several. I'm just only going to lay down a few because that could be a very long conversation. I do believe in youth rights, especially the right to vote, youth suffrage, which I'm very known for. I believe that the voting age should be 16. 16-year-olds should have the right to vote if they can work taxes. Not just that, I do think that the age of candidacy should be lowered to 18 at the least. I also believe that the age for drinking should be lowered from 21 to 18 because if you're old enough to go die in a war, you should be, you should be able to drink. I think most people can agree with that. I also agree on a ban on corporal punishment because of its physical and mental effects on younger people when they get older, and a ban on circumcision because it is bodily harm.
Right. Would you let minors into the military?
At 16.
At 16?
Right, 17. I would most likely make it 16.
Alrighty. What do you think the problems with our current healthcare system in America, and how are you willing to fix it?
But first, there are too many out-of-pocket costs, and there are too many. The pharmaceutical industry still has their hands in control of the healthcare industry. I know Obama and other politicians have claimed that they are trying to deal with the problem, the loopholes in the healthcare system, and that they're trying to make it a lot more affordable. But apparently, many families still believe that it's still expensive and that out-of-pocket costs are tremendously high for a lot of people. Some people don't complain about it because it's not, but the vast majority of people still believe that it is. I believe that we should have a universal single-payer healthcare system modeled after a lot of the other countries across the world.
Would this single-payer healthcare system be mandatory?
Excuse me? I didn't hear that.
Would this single-payer healthcare system be mandatory to participate in?
If I'm president, yes, it would.
All right. Would the government have to negotiate with pharmaceutical companies and doctors who are because if we just have a single-payer healthcare system, what is stopping them from gouging their prices out, considering the government is their only employer?
Well, right. Well, there won't be too much negotiations between the pharmaceutical industry because the pharmaceutical industry has had its time lobbying members of Congress and presidential candidates. If I'm president, there would be no negotiation. It would be just how it is. There would be a radical change, and they will either have to live with it, or who knows.
On your website, that you say that fracking caused the Flint water crisis. What would you be willing to do to fracking?
Well, first of all, I won't be allowing them to drill in the Arctic like President Obama did, which was a disaster. I think we should shift to renewable energy sources such as solar power and others, etc. I realize that we're not going to be able to completely shift to another energy system without crashing our economy. So I think there should be a slow transition. If there's going to be fracking, which I think it should be banned, Um, if, let's say I get 2 terms as president, the first term would be allowing fracking to still exist, but very moderate and very, very restricted. In the second term, banning fracking altogether, so that we don't crash our economy. So to make a slow transition into solar power energy.
All right. You were speaking of the economy, and I want to bring up this question. Do you believe in government invention within the marketplace, such as bailouts?
Can you repeat? Oh, bailouts. So, as soon as I heard bailouts, no, I do not believe that we should be bailing out those companies,
No matter what companies?
no matter what companies.
All right.
If they're
Um,
not about the American people, then I don't think we should bail them out.
all right. Um, will you change the tax rates?
The tax rates, tremendously. I will change the tax rates. First of all, I believe that the wealthy should pay not just their fair share of taxes, but they should pay higher amounts of taxes. And I think that people like myself or lower class people or middle class people shouldn't have to pay taxes or very low taxes. We're paying higher amounts and percentages in taxes than the wealthy. And I don't think that's right. I think that they should, I mean, if you have a lot of money, you should be willing to give to the next generation so that other people may have the opportunity to not just get where you are, but have a better life and a better living condition and standard.
Rich people, they tend to be highly taxed, and they tend to move their money into like offshore banking situations. Will you put? Will you try to put an end to that so they don't escape their taxes, or?
Automatically, I will put an end to that. That's one of the first things I'll do as president if ever elected. I would put an end to that automatically, and we will prosecute them for that. It would be against the law.
Would you even consider the libertarian approach of such as like a fair tax or a flat tax, or?
I don't support the flat tax.
All right.
I know that's something. Is that the same thing that Ted Cruz was advocating for?
Ted Cruz was supporting a flat tax. I believe it was 19% or something on all people, which is basically an income tax. It's just not progressive. Um, I know Mike Huckabee was supporting a fair tax, which is just a national sales tax, much like the states do, just nationally. Um, you say in your website platform, which I'm going to put in the link, put a link in the description so people can actually go to it and see what I'm talking about. You want to create more social programs to deter poverty and unemployment. What kind of programs are you referring to?
Well, one of the programs I really liked that really did a lot during the Great Depression was on the CCC, which was the Civilian Conservation Corps. It would help out a lot and it would create millions of jobs. Right now, we have crumbling infrastructure in our country, deteriorating transportation system. There's so many jobs we can have just putting people to work, on rebuilding the infrastructure, which is falling apart. I see across the country, especially in Florida, I'm pretty sure you noticed that our transportation
Yes.
is terrible. And our infrastructure is terrible here. I think right here in the South, we can put more people to work too, since down here in the South, we tend to have a lot more people unemployed than in other regions in the country.
Yes, Florida's a big tourist state, so
Exactly. And that can generate a lot of revenue, especially if we have our infrastructure in place and a better transportation system for tourists to want to ride our buses and etc. We should definitely have in many places like the metropolitan area where I live at, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, we should definitely have a light rail system or metro rail system rather than just relying simply on Amtrak and the Tri-Rail, which is really bad.
Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security is supposed to deter poverty. Will you keep those in place, or will you expand them, or try to move towards privatization of those programs? Or
I definitely won't privatize those programs, but I do believe we should expand Medicaid and Medicare. And we should definitely, I definitely believe we should have, I also want to expand Social Security, by the way. I definitely think we should have, what is it called? A, a I'm gonna come right back to that one. We should definitely have a wage, a set wage for everyone in this country. For
Basic income.
income, yes. I believe it just passed, and if I'm correct, I believe it was Scotland that just passed a basic income. I could be wrong. It could
I
be
couldn't confirm. I believe Switzerland just had a vote and they denied to have it.
okay.
That's all I
That's
know on the situation.
that's probably the nation I was thinking of. I know they were having some talk about it in the UK, but I don't expect it to happen anytime soon.
Right. On your website, you say that you support education reform. Would you like to expand on that now?
Yes. Well, the first thing is Common Core has to go. Common Core is a disaster, and it's more of standardized testing than actual learning. They don't. You're not being taught really too much to remember what you're being taught. You're just they're just giving you short-term information to remember so that you can pass tests. So I
Would
think
continue. Sorry.
so I think that we should reform that first, and we need to put more programs in place in high schools because not everybody is going to college. And I think that's what Common Core wants is Common Core wants to prepare everyone for college, but not everyone is going to go to college or wants to go to college. So we should have more programs like what we used to have was like, wood shop, horticulture, business programs in the school, construction programs in the schools for students who want to go straight into the workplace after high school. A lot of those programs have disappeared out of schools, especially in the South and in New York and Pennsylvania states where it's very important to have those programs out.
I believe you support tuition-free college. Is that correct?
Yes, and universal education completely.
Will you forgive student debt automatically, or
Yes, I would. If we can bail out the banks, I think we can bail out the students.
um, on your website? I apologize if I'm referencing your website too much, but
That's
you have a picture of a hammer, I believe it is, smashing the word patriarchy. Can you explain how we live in a patriarchal society and what you will do to theoretically smash it?
well. First of all, women are making 77 cents off of every dollar a man is making, and we do need payroll equality. Um, I think you should get paid equal pay for equal work. That's the first thing. There's several examples. Where do I even start? Well, even by saying we are yet to have a woman president, this is not giving Hillary Clinton any thumbs up or anything, but women don't seem to have enough representation in government and in politics. There's so much you can say about it. But
Do you support affirmative action to make like the government and such representative to the population?
definitely, definitely. I heard someone speak about that before with the Green Party, and I was very intrigued by that idea.
Yes, like the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, his uh, cabinet, it's 50% man, 50% woman to represent the population of Canada.
Definitely. If I'm president, uh, and it sucks that I couldn't have a female vice presidential running mate, but if I'm president, most of my cabinet definitely will be LGBT, Latin American, African American, and women, female.
All right. Um,
There won't
you
be no more
what?
old men,
What's
white.
the,
It'll be completely transformed.
all right. You say that you once again on your website you have a picture of GMOs and you're crossing it out. Uh, is that you saying you will ban GMOs or?
Absolutely. GMOs will be banned if I'm president. GMOs have got to go.
What would you say to somebody that said GMOs is the key to solving world hunger?
I don't know how it is the key to solving world hunger. The way to solve world hunger is providing food to those people that need it. Those foods can be without GMOs. I mean, you can't solve world hunger with GMOs. That's basically genocide.
What I know a big thing in the Green Party is food waste. I saw their debate, and they had an entire section dedicated to the food waste problem in America. How will you address the food waste situation that we are currently having in this country?
Well, first of all, we can do it. Countries like France has done. Well, since we have a very large homeless population in this country, a lot of that food, instead of throwing it in trash, we can give it to people that need it. Homeless people that need it, lower income families that need it. We complain all day about food stamps being a waste. Well, instead of throwing out food, we can give it to families that need it. If I'm president, we will probably mandate it or ensure some legislation to Congress to make that possible.
All right. The FDA has cleared the GMOs and said they are safe for human consumption. Are you challenging the FDA when you say they are not, or will you reform the FDA as president?
Yes. Well, first of all, yes, I am challenging the FDA on that. The FDA doesn't really care about the people. Doesn't really care about the people. The FDA isn't elected. It's chosen and they're appointed people. They don't really care. If I'm president, we're going to significantly change and transform the FDA. The FDA isn't probably going to be the FDA anymore. Probably will be abolished, and something else will be implemented. Um, I definitely challenge the FDA on everything. History has shown that the FDA doesn't really have the American interests, and it's really even worse than a corporation. It really is a corporation.
Right. What are your views on the minimum wage, specifically the federal one?
I'm a supporter of the fight for 15. I think that what we have now, we can't live off of that. So I definitely support a $15 minimum wage. I even will go further with having a $20 minimum wage if president. And that would be a universal minimum wage. And I think we should have a plan every 15 to 20 years as the living conditions change. I think the wage should go up or change.
What would you say to people that claim that it's a job killer?
It's not a job killer. It's specifically there's so many there's so many arguments people give saying that it's a job killer, but there's so many subsidies programs and companies and organizations get to pay their employees. If especially small businesses can't say that it's a job killer because the federal government is giving billions and billions of dollars out in subsidies to small businesses. Same with corporations, they're getting tax breaks and subsidies. Walmart's getting subsidies. What do they need subsidies for?
Right. Let's see. You were speaking about your VP earlier when we were talking about feminism. I noticed that. Have you vetted your VPs yet, or
Yes, they are down to our 2 finals.
can you disclose who you are likely choosing?
We haven't completed too much of the vetting. We're down to 2 finalists because the other ones dropped out after they were vetted.
Hmm.
But at this point, we're not sure who we're going to choose after the 2. I mean, some people have their own, inferences, but as of now, we have 2 great finalists, 2 fabulous finalists, and one of them will be the running mate.
Because as I said, I was reading articles on you, and they were talking about your potential VP choice, and they said it was most likely Mr. Peyton Williams.
Many people are saying that. Because he is the most ideologically aligned with me.
Right. As some of the people watching may know, I used to be a part of Mr. Williams's 2036 run. I was his potential VP. but some personal issues and policy differences chose us to split apart that. Who is the other man running?
His name is Jesse Smith.
I forgot who are the other ones. Is he the? He's not the libertarian one, I assume.
He is Jesse Smith.
He is.
He's a fabulous person, and he has almost as much as an equal chance of being chosen as pig.
Right. So you're not leaning towards one of them right now, or you can't disclose.
I mean, I wouldn't disclose who I'm leaning to right now because anything can change between now and July 7th. There is a lot of things going on. There's a lot of policy vetting, and there's a lot of electoral strategy coming with it because it's all about fundraising and what ticket is most appealing to voters. Is it most appealing to have someone who's white on the ticket with someone who's black, or two black guys on the ticket? There's a lot of two LGBT guys or one LGBT guy and a heterosexual guy. There's a story our campaign just released from our website on the blog, talking just about that from our social media director.
All right. Do you want to say any final words? Because I got all my questions covered.
Not really. Just visit the website if you have any more questions about me or my platform, and you can always reach the campaign or ask questions. Visit the Facebook page. Even if you want, you can like it. But if you have any questions, we tend to respond very quickly.
All righty. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me on here.
All righty.